So hello everyone, welcome to CodeVardhan. Today we are going to know what is programming language. Okay, so before starting with programming language, let's understand what is language. So language is just a mode of communication. Okay, like in human beings we used Hindi, English, and the different languages of India consider it as Punjabi. Okay, then we have different languages in Haryana, and then we have Tamil, Telugu, and so on. So these are the different language which we use to communicate with each other. In the same way, if we have to communicate with computers, we have to use a programming language. Okay, so there are multiple types of programming language, and you must have heard about the different languages. But today we are going to do a deep dive into programming language and see how many types of programming languages are there, how many ways we can use them, and what are the different criteria of the programming language. Okay, so let's first dive into type of programming language. Okay, so first of all, we called it as low level, which is nothing but a binary language which is using zeros and ones. Okay, so this is the very old programming language, and this we called as a low level programming language, but this is the fastest programming language because computer easily understands 0 and 1, and technically we can say computer only stands zeros and ones, so it is very good. Okay, second we have assembly language. Okay, assembly language, in which what we have did, we have taken some of the binary codes and converted them to an easily readable code. For example, we are using add, we are using mul for multiply, we are using mov for move, and etc. The assembly language is very good at the time when it was discovered, and it was very easy to code into assembly language because the writing of zeros and ones are overtaken by these assembly language, and these are actually very good programming language. Then we have high level language. Okay, high level languages are nothing but very common and clear to understand and very close to the human language what we used to speak, what we used to communicate with. Okay, so we can treat it as an English which we are using into it, and we are trying to write the code in the normal language which we used to communicate with. Okay, so it is very easy for us to communicate with, it is very easy to for us to deal with it. Okay, so easy to communicate. Okay, easy to write. Next, easy to check, easy to resolve errors, and there are so on. So there are multiple benefits of these high level languages. Okay, further high level language is, you can say that it is divided into further parts. A normal high level language where we are using C, C++, Java, etc. And then we have a very high level language. Okay, in case of very high level language, we have something domain specific. Okay, for writing a software, we have a fixed language that can only be used to writing a software or to write coding a software. In the same terms, we can see that in case of database, we have a fixed language that we called as SQL. Okay, now in terms of web development, we have a specific language that is HTML. So without HTML, we cannot create any type of web applications, or any web development cannot be done. So these are very high level language, and these are called the domain specific language. Then we have scripting language. Okay, scripting language are used to help the other languages. So for example, JavaScript, and we can also call the Bash. Bash is also a programming language, or we can say that it's a scripting language which is used in Linux. Okay, so these we called as Bash programming. Understood? I hope this I'm making it clear, the types of programming language. Okay, so but again, the problem still is there. Computer only stands zeros and ones. Computer cannot understand assembly language. Computer cannot understand the high level language. Computer cannot understand very high level language. Neither computer can understand a scripting language. So how to resolve this problem? To resolve this problem, we have buddies which we can say that as a translator. Okay, what are these translators? So there are two types of translators. One we called as compiler and other we called as interpreter. Okay, so now we understand that programming language has multiple types, but computer only stands zeros and ones. So we have compiler and interpreter. What is the use of compiler and interpreter? For example, you are writing something in high level language, but computer can understand only low level language. So to convert anything from high level to low level, we need a compiler or we need an interpreter. Okay, so compiler interpreter do what? Compiler interpreter just convert or translates your high level language into low level language. How they do in that? So in case of compiler, what is happening? It takes the entire high level language code. For example, this is a page and this is the code written. Okay, and convert into a low level language code or in the terms of zeros and ones. This is being done by our compiler. Okay, in case of interpreter, these are the codes and you are writing the code. In while writing the code, it converts everything into zeros and ones. Okay, so this is what happening in terms of interpreter and this is what happening in the terms of compiler. So I hope I'm making it clear how compiler is working, how interpreter is working. So if we talk about compiler, one more thing, compiler converts the entire code at once. Okay, if there is some error, there is something like that, then we have to re check the things, we have to correct the errors and again send it to the compiler and compiler convert it into the a binary code or a binary file or a 0 1 file. We call it as a binary file and we save this binary file into our systems and whenever required we used to use this binary file. We are not going to use the codes. Okay, but in terms of interpreter is something like a live converter. Whenever you are writing the code, whenever it requires, it actually takes the original code and convert them into zeros and one at that particular time only. It does not save any binary file for the future and something like that. Interpreter is working like that. Okay, so these are the difference between a compiler and an interpreter. Okay, before compiler and interpreter, there is one more thing that we called as assembler. This assembler is nothing but it's converting the assembly language to the low level language. Okay, this is what happening in case of assemblers. I hope I'm making this clear. So if you like this, please do like. So now let's move towards the programming language. So as I tell you that programming language is nothing but a language which computer can understand. And how computer understanding? With the help of a compiler or an interpreter. So this is what happening in case of programming language. Okay, so if I talk about programming language, the entire programming languages I can say that are divided into 7 groups. Okay, and these groups are called tokens. And now let's understand what are these tokens. In any programming language, the tokens are same. Either we are learning Python, C++, Java, any programming language, tokens are absolutely same. So there are 7 types of tokens. First of all, we have keyword. Second, we have identifiers. Third, we have literals. Fourth, we have variables. Okay. Fifth, we have operators. Sixth, we have separators. And seventh, we have punctuators. Okay. So these are the 7 very important groups. through which the entire programming languages are there. Okay, so anything in that programming world is grouped into these 7 categories only. Okay, so the keywords, identifiers, literals, variables, operators, separators, and punctuators. Okay, let's understand one by one what are these, so that it is very easy for you in the future when we are talking about the programming and we see how the programming is working. Okay, the first is keyword. What are these keywords? So keywords are nothing but some reserved, means some reserved words which we are only using whenever required, and it have the fixed meaning. Okay, so it cannot be changed. For example, print. Print cannot be changed. It means print. Nothing, no other meaning of this print can be there. So print means print. Okay, so in the same way, we have multiple keywords in our programming language depending upon the different programming language. So print is one of the keyword, int is one of the keyword, string is one of the keyword. Okay, and so on. If I could take, if is one of the keyword, else is one of the keyword, we have for as a keyword. Okay, so we have different keywords. Okay, now the second thing is identifier. Identifiers are nothing but a identification mark for anything. Okay, whenever we are creating any variable, we will understand the variable in the variable terms. We are creating any variables, or if we need to name something, to name anything, we use identifiers to name something. To name something. In terms of keyword, we can say that reserve words. In the real life also we have reserved word. For example, tree is a reserve word. Okay, land is the reserve word. We cannot use land for something else. Land means land. Okay, we have wood. We cannot use wood for something else. Wood means wood. So in the same way, these are the reserve words. Okay, now to name something, if you want to name something, for example, your name, your brother's name, your mother father name, so that name. Okay, so whenever you are naming something, you will using identifiers. Okay, so there are some special combination which we have to follow, some special rule which you have to follow while we are working on identifiers. Point number one, whenever we are working on identifier, we should make sure that identifier only consists of alphabet, number, and underscore. Okay, second thing, should not start with number, and the third thing, should not have keyword. Okay, you could not use keywords, you could not start with numbers, and it only consists the alphabets, numbers, underscore, and these are the three things which you can use. Alphabet, you can use capital alphabet, small alphabet, something like that. So for example, if I write like, this is a identifier. This can be identifier. Yes, it can be identifier. So there is nothing like that. If I write my channel name like CodeVardhan, this is also an identifier. Yes, but I cannot write this one CodeVardhan. This is an error. So I cannot write this one CodeVardhan, but I can write CodeVardhan 1. So this is true. This is wrong. So this is what happening in terms of identifiers. I hope I am making it clear. Next we have literals, and also we have variables. We will be learning variables and literals together, like we have learned keywords and identifier together. So variables and literals, what are there? So for example, if you are creating something and you want something where you can store some data, or we have variables. It's very simple. In mathematics we used to have x as a variable that x can have any value. In the same way, in programming language, we have multiple variables where these variables can have any value. So these we called as variables. Very clear. Now, what are the literals? So literals are some special type of line, word, sentence, anything that can be that does not require any type of processing. So whenever you are writing anything in double quotes like this in our program, so if I write double quote and I write CodeVardhan like this, so nothing will happen. It will not change anything, not even a single space, comma, nothing will be changed. It will be printed as it is. Okay, that we called as literals. Okay, so if you want to print any message, anything like that on a program, you will use literals. And if you want to store something in some variables, we are going to declare variables. How we are going to declare variables, that depends upon the different data types, which you can see in the further videos, how data types are there, what are the different data types, so that you can understand very much clearly. Okay, so these are the variables. Why we need a variable? So when we are running a program, we have something called as RAM and processor. Okay, something we have to store in RAM and then it will be sent to the processor. To store something in RAM, we need a space, and to identify this space, we will be using identifier. Okay, so the combination of any space and identifier, we termed it as variable. I hope it's clear. Now we have operators. What are operators? So operators are nothing but a mathematical symbol that we are using. So we have addition, we have subtraction. For multiplication, we are using this star, as this is called as strict. Then we have this divide operator. This we called as not as percentage operator. This is called as modulus operator, which is being used to find out the remainder of anything, the remainder of any division. Okay, so we will be using this uh, percentage symbol. In different programming language, we have different types of operator. A slight change in operator can be seen, but that is not a big part. So you can easily understand how these operators are happening and how these operators are working. We also have greater than, smaller than. To write greater than equal to, we should write like this, smaller than equal to like this. Okay, so and now there is one more very important. When you have whenever you see a single equal to, this we called as assignment operator. Okay, so if I write a is equal to 5, this is an assignment operator which is actually assigning the value 5 to a. Means there is a variable by the name of a which is getting assigned with 5. So this we called as assignment operator. Anything on the right hand side of assignment operator will be transferred to the left hand side of that. Okay, so this we called as an assignment operator. Whereas if I use this double equal to, so this can be treated as comparison operator, where we are comparing a thing. For example, if I write a is equal to b, it checks whether a, the contents of a are equal to b. So if they are actually equal, it returns true. Yes, the both the contents are equal. If they are not true, they will say no, they are not equal. So these we called as assignment operators. Apart from them, we have few more operators which is commonly used and widely used in our programming, that we called as AND operator, OR operator and NOT operator. AND operator, OR operator, NOT operator, these are logical operators which we are using inside our code. In most of the programming language, you can also see something like this: AND, or, and not. This can also be seen. So these operators are actually logical operators. They perform the logical operation of and, or, and not. In terms of and, we see whether both the conditions are true or not. In case of or, we see either of the condition are true or not. We just do the opposite. This we called as logical operators. Okay, so these are the different varieties of operator we have. Okay, next we have separators. What are these separators? So separators are nothing but separators are something which is used to define the scope and separates the code. So we are using some brackets, curly braces, square brackets, sometimes comma, sometimes semicolon. These are called as separators. Okay, so simple punctuation marks are there, and now we have punctuators. Okay, in terms of punctuators, we have semicolon, we have comma, we have some dots, we have a scope resolution operator in some of the programming languages. So these are called the symbols, punctuators, which we are actually using during our code to perform certain operations. So in this series, actually, we are going to learn Python. So we hardly use these brackets and these punctuators. Also, these parentheses we are not using. Braces and brackets we are going to use. Okay. One more thing in terms of programming language, these are called as parentheses. These are called as braces, and these are called as brackets. Okay, so these are the fixed terminology which we have to follow. Okay, I hope I'm making this clear. So in this way, we can understand that our entire programming language is getting converted into these 7 groups. Okay, out of these, apart from these, there are nothing inside the programming language. These 7 groups are only there. With the help of these groups, we create a programming, and after writing a program, that program is getting. After writing a program, what will happen? Whenever you complete writing the program, for example, this program is completely written, then it is sent to RAM. RAM will do the proper execution of this program. Actually, before execution, the assignments operators will do their job. The variables will be created, the spaces will be assigned, and then this will be sent to the processor. So this is a basic processor, trying to make it look like processor. This is my i20 i15 processor. Okay, so I don't know what is this, but yeah, consider it as i15 processor. So everything will be sent to the processor, then processor will reply to the RAM, and RAM will reply to the screen. This scenario will be there, and this is how a program works. Okay, further in this series, we will be seeing how we will be taking our journey with the Python and see the Python programming, and multiple things will be there. I hope you like this video and you will have the enough knowledge about what the programming is, how the Python is working, how the different things are working. Okay, so please do like, do share with your friends, comment if you have any doubts, and please do not forget to subscribe to our channel. So thank you guys, thank you very much.